Architectural Digest has took us on some wild rides when it comes to celebrity homes. Honestly, I have a bone to pick with them because celebrities really don't have the greatest of taste when it comes to their home reviews. They're usually just talking about their decor. If you watch my previous video on Kendall Jenner's, she was talking about her Campbell soup cups. Excuse me, what? This is Architectural Digest. I want to know about the interiors. I want to talk about the intention because I have no idea what they've been doing lately. And as always, I wait for my live reactions because we're going to be diving into Mandy Moore and Taylor Goldsmith's Architectural Digest of their brand new Spanish colonial home. I have no idea what to expect, so let's dive right in.
Hi AD, I'm Mandy Moore.
I'm Taylor Goldsmith.
Welcome to our home. Come on in.
We wanted this house to be more of a family home than our previous home, but we wanted it to be the kind of home where it was going to age gracefully along with all of us.
Yeah, I feel like that it's very intentionally softer and warmer and richer and more colorful and more playful.
I came here the day, like a few hours after the fire passed through this area.
While things were still on
So
fire.
like the studio was on fire in the back, our garage was already burnt down very quickly. We learned that all the soft goods, all the furniture, the rugs, clothes, that was all thrown away. And we're so lucky that we do have a home because so many people that we know and love don't.
This room has changed a little bit post-fire as well. Like those chairs were here, this couch was here, but a different fabric. These are new chairs. These are also Sarah's collection from Lulu in Georgia. And these are her tables, these beautiful skimming stone tables.
We're not in here too much. We're here on Christmas morning, that's for
I
sure.
was just about to say, it's the Christmas room.
Yeah.
Imagine having a big enough house that you have a living room and you call it your Christmas room because you use it once a year. Rich people problems. Let's talk about what the few clips that I can see from it, like what works and doesn't work. I love the softness of the curved ceiling paired with the angled gables. I think that's a really beautiful juxtaposition. And then bringing the almost Spanish style fireplace that has that soft, almost plaster work, I think is a nice touch. The plaster work around the fireplace is a little bit too childish, in my opinion, but you know, it works. The hanging bubble chandelier I think is nice. It helps kind of create that grounded atmosphere that's zoned around the fireplace as well. I like the curved design language that carries through the arched window frames, the frames overall, the passageways, and even the sculptures have that really nice, almost whimsical feel to it. The wall sconces are really nice. They almost look like they come a little bit too far away from the wall, which is a little bit alarming considering the perspective of seeing these light fixtures is always from an angle and not straight on. So it just like, it gives a weird gap in between. What really isn't working for me is that it almost has too much of a whimsical feel. Like all these sculptural pieces and even the chairs that are more for form rather than function feel like I'm in a Alice in Wonderland dream, especially with the tiny printed like checkerboard floor. It just doesn't look like it properly proportions in the room. The textiles and the upholstery aren't too bad. I like the shape of all of them, but the color of those chairs are really not doing it for me. I'm all for like a pop of color, but at least make it feel cohesive in your room. Honestly, this isn't doing it for me. I'm gonna have to give it like a 5 out of 10. If I were to do things differently, I probably would have emphasized on the shape of the room with that rug. I would have loved a really large asymmetrical or even a curved one to create a center point around that fireplace instead of like the monotony of like a rectangle and square, especially when you have all these like fun, playful shapes that allow your eye to travel through the room. I also would have done a darker rug to create that nice perspective of value between the darker ceiling as well. The first thing that I notice in the room is the sofa, and as cute as the fabric is, it's just not for me. I would have done something that maybe has like a larger print on it.
We are in our kitchen.
Where every day starts,
Yeah,
where every day ends,
pretty much.
where we spend most of our time.
I love this kitchen. There's French doors here, there's French doors there, there's entry here and entry through the dining room.
Even down to like the curvature of the kitchen island. We wanted to make it something where we could run into walls and you could cook and get it dirty and have it not be the kind of house where everything needed to be in perfect shape all the time, because it's never going to be.
It's never going to be. The breakfast nook, like being able to sit somewhere with the kids and sort of the memories that would happen around the kitchen table. We're reheating food there, Lou's in her high chair, the boys are running around with like Legos, monster trucks, something crazy. Like there's definite chaos at all times.
Okay, so we got the kitchen now. My kind of like initial thoughts are the herringbone floor is quite nice. It looks like they have lots of layered lighting, which I can give a bonus point to. What really works in this space from what I can see, I love the unlacquered brass as a fixture. I think it's paired really nicely with the stone. It wraps up higher than your average splashback, and I think it's great, especially for around the stove as well. The black framed French doors are a really great kind of architectural moment that balance both sides of this room, because from the look of it, it looks like it's quite a long kitchen, because then it opens up into like another maybe like pantry space that they're not showing from behind. The amount of natural light that comes into this is an absolute dream. The breakfast nook from the looks of it is nice. The chairs are cute. They feel like a little bit out of place because everything else is quite structured. These are the only kind of whimsical aspect, and everything else feels quite cozy. So they probably just like, you know, place those there. The cushions around the breakfast nook all feel like super playful and cozy though. A little bit too soft visually for a breakfast space, like especially if they have kids, those are probably dirty 99% of the time. I also don't mind the curved radius above the hood fan. I think that's a really cool detail. And also the radius of the island of curve, that's a really nice kind of connection between those soft points. What's not working for me is the white walls and the white kitchen with a pop of color. You know my stance on a pop of color. It's truly groundbreaking, people. I do like a contrasted finish for an island. I think that's a really great way to kind of have a standout point. I would have wanted a different color. It doesn't feel like it's right. Even the pendant lights, the bulbs look way too large for the scaled shade, and it just looks off to me. If I were to do something differently in this kitchen, I would have made more emphasis on the island so it feels cohesive. And when I say that is the color of it. They have this beautiful marble. It looks like a Calcutta viola, like your standard one. I think pulling an undertone or a hue from that stone would have really created a beautiful, cohesive pop of color that feels like it belongs. The green that they have there, I'm sure only relates to the trees and the shrubberies outside, which is not in the same visual point of where you're actually enjoying and seeing the perspective of a room. I can appreciate that this kitchen is very family and child friendly overall. It feels a little bit too regular or basic looking in my opinion, which is a little bit harsh to say. Honestly, I'm gonna have to give it a 5 out of 10. It works, but I'm not a fan of it.
This is our family room. I would say it's like where we spend another good chunk of time with the kids. But this was another room that we decided to sort of open up, this room and the dining room. There's these like really beautiful arches. The room initially has this like interesting little alcove back here. And the ladies had this like genius idea of kind of making this more of like a little built-in sofa moment with like some storage down here. There were built-ins initially there, right?
Yeah.
They're loaded with Legos right now and books.
That's how you keep your house from looking crazy. And this is one of the best chairs in the house for a cup of coffee and some reading, with the way that the windows are set up for light.
All right, so this is their family room where they watch TV. My initial reaction is the color palette is quite nice. What works is that they have an unbelievable amount of storage from the sounds of it. I love that like the design of this room was all about where they could hide the kids' toys and Legos. And I think they did a really great job at it. It's probably just all shoved in there. The rug pattern is also quite nice. It creates a good base for this room that's not too busy, and it works with the other patterns that are in this space. What doesn't work for me is the scale of the items of the room look really off. That kind of banquette seating that he put in that corner there with that little tiny window that looks like it's the size of my forearm and the wall sconce off to it feel like an afterthought. Like they just put it in and it doesn't look like it belongs. I do like that they create that kind of like back little alcove storage for like the kids to like play and hang out with. It's not doing it for me. I'm also not digging the chocolate sofa. Like it looks like a beautiful chocolate like mohair. It just feels a little bit too dark for this light and airy room. The curtains on the walls of the banquette and that alcove look super deep and like I said, really out of place in terms of the scale and perspective. I would have wanted to create that alcove being a focus point. I would have maybe like rotated the spatial planning of that room, or maybe that's the TV wall. And then that way you create that kind of a radial seating facing the alcove so it feels a little bit more intimate looking into it. But once again, That's just me. What I would have done differently as well is brought in more of these colors from the dining room into this little area, even at a different saturation level, to create that nice visual connection between these beautiful arches in the hallway. Like, I feel like there was a lot that was omitted from this room. It doesn't really feel complete. And we also barely talked about anything besides the kids' toys and where they put them. So I'm gonna have to give this room a 4 out of 10.
This room will eventually get used. Right now, it serves as like Lego headquarters. We decided collectively to go with like a darker, moodier vibe for this room. I love this apparatus chandelier. The lines of like the chandelier really pick up on like the table, and just like everything feels rounded and smooth.
It's incredible. It's bold, but it also feels like home. It's really beautiful.
Wow, that was the quickest dining room tour I think I've seen. Those apparatus lights, I love. They have been on my wish list for the longest time, and if they weren't so expensive, I probably would have had them in my place. I love that it feels really intimate and really moody. Like, this vibe is great for dinners with families and parties. Like, this is a vibe you want in a dining space. It feels different from the rest of the design of your home. I think what really works is the color palette in here. This dark navy paired with the different like monochromatic hues and patterns, the artwork, the warmth of the wood that has almost an orange stain to it, which I usually don't like, creates a really beautiful contrast with that blue, and it looks so well thought out. Even though the patterns and everything in here is not for me, this works quite nicely. The busy pattern of these vintage chairs is a great way to hide spills from the kids too. The wall texture I think is really beautiful. It creates a sense of almost curiosity of like when you're walking past the room, it kind of gives you that really nice sense of depth perception as well. The whimsical items in here, honestly, they work all together. There's a design language of the curvature of the pieces that feel like they all interact with each other. From what I can see, I'm not sure if those curtains are green. It could be me, but I probably would have done them in a similar hue. The green just kind of looks off-putting. The one thing I would change in here is the arch going into this room. I would have amplified that color and that wall texture finish they did, whether it's a lime wash or that Cadora. I would have brought it in on that internal part of the arch, because when you're looking at this room from any other perspective, that sense of curiosity grounds the room instead of creating that white contrast. It makes you want to be invited and go to that space. And that's what's really great about creating that moody atmosphere, is that level of curiosity that makes you want to investigate. Very few notes on this room. I'm gonna have to give it a 8.5 out of 10.
This is the boys' room. Although it's been a lot of different things. This was gonna be a guest room. It was always gonna be this beautiful blue. We thought, okay, we'll transition our oldest Gus to living down here too. This was his bed for a while.
Yeah. This was his first big boy bed, and he shared with Ozzy, and it was great. We had these like incredible bunks like built in. I'm like, can I sleep in here? I love it so much, and the boys love it. It made coming back to the house, I think, even more exciting for them. Sarah found this like dollhouse bookshelf cupboard, and I came home from work one day, and someone's holding up like an iPhone flashlight for her, and she's painting the blue stripes on.
It's cute. It's not my taste. The color palette with the baby blue and the green, it works. It's a little bit too desaturated. Like the baby blue feels like the stereotype of the boy color. If you were to like visualize it, that's what I'm seeing. It's playful. The bunk beds are becoming a very common thing in 80 tours, and I think it's great for kids' rooms. It's a very substantial investment for something your kids are going to grow out of, especially with those small beds in there. I'm going to take a wild guess and assume that these houses are quite large. I'm sure there's multiple rooms. You don't have to cram all 3 of your kids into one room, but that's just me. The color drench works in this room. I think the only problem is that it feels a little bit too flat. The repurposed like dollhouse dresser is actually cool. The stripes work. Once again, I'm not really into this. Each bed having its own curtain is nice because it gives them a little bit more privacy, especially since all 3 of them are in there. What's not working for me is the dark cherry wood and the yellow bedding that's paired with the green and the blue. It feels like it just doesn't have a strong connection to one another. That being said, I think the green and the blue work much more cohesively together, and I would have wanted to bring one of those colors into the bed. Like instead of using the yellow, I probably would have done a different hue of the blue so it feels like it has a nice sense of like depth that doesn't create visual contrast with that stark yellow and the blue. It would also make it feel a little bit less juvenile if this blue wasn't so like baby blue. I also would have done the door hardware and the hinges in this room white as well. It pulls a little bit too contrasted from these interiors, and the only kind of visual connection is the window mullions and then the black details of the hinges on the doors. It just feels like the contrast is too light, and that's the first thing I'm noticing at because everything is so muted in this room. Honestly, you may have to fight me on this one, but I'm gonna give this like a 4.5 out of 10. It's cute, but it's not really getting me excited about a kid's room. Like it's not really that playful either, if we're being honest.
We are in, I guess, the screening room.
I like to call it the library, but yeah.
Taylor is an avid reader.
I like to collect books. The sunlight wasn't coming in here to wear out the spines, so this felt like the perfect zone for it.
Yeah, it's a perfect zone. I feel very fancy saying that we have like a screening room because we're not those people. We've never had that. But we didn't know what else to do with this room. I love this sort of nod to the movie theater aspect of these kind of reproduction Art Deco-y sconces on the wall and the light fixtures on the ceiling. The wallpaper was such a fun find. This is like our cozy, sneakily like favorite room in the house.
All right, so we got the screening room. Super cozy movie nights with like these deep pillow sofas would be an absolute dream in my opinion. I love that they also have these giant bookshelves along the one flanking side that makes it feel a little bit more versatile, and it kind of feels like a hangout space. I think the only challenge with this is that it can feel like a library, but I don't know how you're going to be reading in this like dimly lit room unless you had like little small kind of like task lights above those areas, but I digress. I'm not super into the wallpaper. I mean, it's nice. The wall sconces are nice too. It allows you to almost like customize the atmosphere and the mood and create this almost like color drenched moment. The Art Deco vibes are a really cool element and they're really pretty. I would have wanted to like emphasize it on more than just the lights with a few other kind of details so it feels cohesive instead of just like these pops of Art Deco reference. But I do like the idea of like paying homage to like the old cinema style with like the curtains that kind of wrap around as well. I think that's really nice. The panels that break apart the wallpaper into zones make the space feel a lot smaller than possibly intended. It kind of condenses that room from feeling a little bit more expansive. If they had brought the wallpaper all the way around, I think that would have been a great pairing. That blue and the green works really nice together, and it would have made the space feel more almost like cavern-like and cocoon the space as well. It's not too bad. I can see where they wanted to go with this space. I feel like it could have been done more tastefully at the same time, but like this is like a family home. They wanted like fun for their kids. I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10 only because once again, they're talking about the decor and the pieces in this room. I didn't get to see anything outside of the light fixtures and that Art Deco vibe that they mentioned.
This is the primary bedroom.
What we were going for with this space is just cozy, comfortable.
And it feels like the end of the house, like some primary bedrooms you see and they're like right next door to the entrance or right off the kitchen. And we really liked how you gotta come upstairs and into the hall. And
we also have some art from local artists here in Los Angeles. Skylar Hughes, this painting here, we really love it so much. This is Taylor Kibbe up here that we commissioned. The bed is Sarah. The sconces are hennepin made. I feel like they're jellyfish on our walls. There's something that feels very architectural about these sconces, and I think the room's pretty simple otherwise.
So there's a lot of flipping on this bed. No innuendo about that.
No innuendo.
The primary bedroom. I like that every piece in this room feels like beautiful in its own way, but altogether it's very like meh, in my opinion. The chocolate and the blue, incredibly beautiful color palette that feels really nice. Kind of picks up on a few of the other colors throughout the house. So once again, that level of cohesion I can connect with there. The whimsical wall sconces, I think, have that whimsical aspect that I wouldn't call them architectural, like she said. I would have called them more fluid and contrasted. The artwork surrounding the room is quite nice. I like the multimedia pieces that give that like texture. It feels lived in. The space isn't like super flat, but it does appear a little boring. I do like the bed being darker with the nightstands that create like a focal point. The gray rug is not doing any favors. I would have removed that completely. The bench at the end of the bed that has a backrest feels like it just doesn't belong. I also would have wanted a larger accent chair in the corner, that quick little clip there. The low profile looks comfy, but the scale of it looks completely off in the room. The one thing that's really bothering me is the art piece above the bed. Beautiful piece, by the way, but the fact that it's off-centered is like messing with my compulsion, and it needs to be moved to be centered, like for me to feel comfortable right now. I can see that this theme was like carried throughout, but it's their style and it works for them, but I'm gonna have to give this a 4 out of 10.
We're in the primary bath, which we've told you 1,000,000 times is where we do bath time for everybody. This was not the way that we originally intended this bathroom. I was like, wow, this is like a fancy adult with this beautiful like a clay tile, and the tile in the back gives so much like texture. And I have my own little vanity that I can, in theory, get ready in front of my own vanity. I would love to take baths myself in here more, but so it's really their bathroom right now until that changes.
Yes. Tell us nothing about the bathroom outside of bathing your kids in here. The pattern of the clay tiles is nice. It feels very Spanish. It adds that sense of warmth with that terracotta. I certainly hope these clay tiles are sealed, because if they have kids, there's lots of splashing water in that tub, and that's going to break down these clay tiles very quickly compared to like a porcelain. Once again, all these textures help kind of create something in the entire room, but it doesn't feel too flat. It's charming. It has that like grown-up feel to it, but it also feels quite childish at the same time. The rectangular mirrors with all these soft curves, it's not giving it an extra point for this room. I would have brought in like a more whimsical touch here to feel like it feels like it belongs with this like curvature style. The visual tension between these curves and the sharper angles, they feel very forced. Like, I'm usually down to put them together to create that kind of like nice sense of juxtaposition and contrast, but there's no connection. The emphasis of this entire primary bathroom is all around the shapes on the ground, the textured tiles, the back of the vanity, and it's forcing a sense of movement upwards that's quite linear. And then you meet it with this soft curve that just doesn't feel right. Function definitely took precedent here, and sometimes that's okay, but I'm just gonna give this a 6 out of 10. AD, I wanna know what's going on with celebrities lately and your home tours, because I feel like the sole purpose of your platforms lately have just been not even inspiration to get people inspired to see beautiful homes. You're showing just the celebrities for the sake of showing celebrities to get the views, and the houses are very boring. They're doing this for rage bait. Like, I'm looking at all of these photos like combined, and it's giving me a lived in feeling. It doesn't feel very custom. It's clean, obviously, and once again, obviously staged by AD. The appreciation of like, you know, this being a family home, I'm going to give him a point for that. Overall, I'm quite upset with this AD tour that we are focusing on the little knickknacks and the little decor. There's no like architectural elements. Like, decor is supposed to amplify the design of the space. It shouldn't be at the forefront. And I think AD needs to revisit how they're actually showing these tours. Because from a design perspective, I'm going to start a petition to start showing clips talking about the design of the space. That's why we want to watch it. I don't care about like your kids' Legos. Maybe that's just me. You need to let me know in the comments, because if we need to make a petition, I'm going to put my name first on that list to send AD to get people on board with this. If you missed my last review that you were all telling me to watch, it was the Kendall Jenner. I was annoyed with that one too. I feel like I'm such a bitch lately, like watching these, and I'm like, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I know you made it this far watching this video because you love when I go full out and hold nothing on these celebrities. Make sure to give me a like, and I hope you're already subscribed. And you can always follow me on Instagram and TikTok for all my daily tips and tricks at Mr. Phoenix Gray. And thanks for watching as always. And remember, if you're ever second guessing yourself, just ask, what would Design Daddy do?